tomorrow going to be like? What kind of world are we going to live in when we get our permanent furloughs? Super-speed highways? Plastic Packards? Streamlined cities? What does the future hold in store for us? To get a glimpse of that future, Army-Navy Screen Magazine presents a new department, Tomorrow, previewing our post-war world, the job opportunities, the new fields ahead. For the first in our Tomorrow series, let's look into a brand new development.
Hey everybody, look, it's Spider-Man. It's a Spider-Man issue. It's #1. It's Torment #1 of 5. It came out in 1990s. It was done by Todd McFarlane. It was so big, everybody wanted this issue.
With Santa Fe cigars, your second, third, or fourth cigar of the day smokes as light as your first. That's why
100,000 times a day, someone lights up a Santa Fe.
When you think you're out, they just suck you back in. Oh, Jesus tits. Thank you so much for coming back. This is episode 12 of Low Tide, the official YouTube web series for Rude Planet. That's RUDEPLA.net. It's also in the description. You can go there and see some of my old reviews and articles and things like that. No cape shit today. Thank fucking God. So I don't have to be so much of a dork. I'll just be a film dork today. Fuck. I gotta tell you, this is my second take. I have no idea how long the other take was. I rambled on like a fucking lunatic, and I learned something. I learned something today, that the Nikon camera has a built-in 20-minute limit as far as video goes. You know, I've not really used this camera much for filming. That's something I've been doing more lately, and I've wondered why it would cut out. And basically the gist of it is that if it records more than 20 minutes, then it can be classified as a video camera and not a photography camera, and so it can be taxed more. So thank you, state. The regulations and all that sort of stuff. Just They're death by 1,000 cuts. It's always something. It's always something. People just simply can't, use things the way that you want to use them. There's always, some sort of excuse or some way that people are going to be taxed to death. So, fuck it. Anyway, episode 12. I'm using sign language today for numbers, because doing this all the time is going to be ridiculous. But yeah, it was like I was watching the video that I had like no idea where it ended off, so I don't know if I went on for like 25 minutes or 30 minutes or what. But one thing I learned is I like to run my mouth, and telling you, YouTube's going to be the death of me yet. So another thing I noticed is, like I'm wearing a red shirt today. I wanted to wear my Serbian film shirt, but I also realized that, okay, Matt, you're going to dig yourself in a little bit deeper, because I don't know if you noticed the color scheme that I've been preferring to do tends to run red a little bit hot. Like if you see some of my videos, like the B-52 album I have behind me, tends to be burnt out as far as color goes, and a little bit too grainy. So if things are looking weird, it might not be. I mean, like, it might look fine, so I might be just blowing this out my ass. But if it looks weird, I'm making an artistic statement about madness in society today.
How about it for our good friend Al, ladies and gentlemen?
Do you know what the difference is between Adolf Hitler and Al Capone? Hitler's dead. Capone lives like a king in Florida.
He has full-blown dementia.
I have reason to believe that could all be an elaborate act.
Okay. Yeah, so today we're talking about Capone. And about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I had gotten a text message from a friend of mine. He's like, Matt, you need to watch Capone. It's crazy. It is absolutely insane. And so, like, my full intention was to do this review much earlier. My intention was to do this review much earlier, but as it turned out, I got sick. And the night I got sick was the night I was watching Fantastic Four again. And, I was trying to think of what to say, because Fantastic Four was directed by Josh Trank, who also directed Chronicle, and this is a case where studios don't put a lot of faith in new filmmakers anymore. It used to be that they would pull new filmmakers from movie studios, not from film schools and things, to film, and they had this new American cinema, for all the way from The Godfather through even Star Wars and Jaws to Apocalypse Now, and that all ended when Heaven's Gate came around in the early 80s, and the director had completely wasted the budget, going completely over budget, and had, caused havoc on the studio system all the way down. So they stopped really putting faith in filmmakers. So one of the things I've noticed today is that young filmmakers are being brought in again, and they're being brought in as to do the studio stuff. But then the studios interfere. They have zero faith in what the filmmakers can do. So they'll go in and they'll micromanage and nitpick and destroy the film with 1,000 cuts, literally death by 1,000 cuts. And I know that most people hate the Fantastic Four movie, but I enjoy it quite a bit. Josh Trank brought something new to the table. He had thought outside of the box. When he was writing the script, he was looking at ideas, from David Cronenberg, the idea of body horror, the scene with Ben Grimm when he's, I thought I wasn't going to talk about cape shit. Fuck you. Yeah, Ben Grimm is, not much more than a pile of rocks pleading for help. Or when you have, Dr. Doom making people's heads explode, Scanner style. A lot of interesting ideas, but then you have all this stuff that's completely out of place, and the movie feels incomplete. So once again, after seeing Capone, I want to reiterate that we need to see the Trank cut, because I think that he has a lot of potential, but like his career has been crucified pretty early on. Capone is a film that takes place the last year of Capone's life. He got syphilis when he was 15 years old. And so by the time he got out of prison, syphilis has just sort of rotted the brain. His brain was Swiss cheese. He had the faculty of like a 15-year-old. Didn't really understand what was going on. He lost all of his faculties. And, it's like he had this massive empire before he went to prison. And as he comes out, his property's being sold off. And all these other, this empire he had built, how he was taking care of his family and all this through murder and mayhem and everything like that was, just crumbling away. And, it's very much like a Greek tragedy. And, if you want to get into the idea of tragedy, when, it used to be that theater used to be ritualistic, religious. The plays that were performed in ancient Greece were religious rituals. And Aristotle talked about catharsis, the idea that people would go through these, the theater would go on for a weekend, days at a time. And at the end of it, you would receive catharsis, and the pity and guilt and anger would be purged from you. It's like, and the reason being is you can relate to the same story, the same villains, the same heroes, the same gods. And, the idea, catharsis is like, I know I'm fucking all this up. I can't remember, but like the catharsis is like, when you lance a boil and like the pus comes out, and you got that release. And that's the idea. So like if you have like this tragic figure like Al Capone, you can't relate to him because Al Capone's being played by Tom Hardy, who has decided to, he didn't decide to do it. This is, Josh Trank's film, but Tom Hardy gave a very authentic performance, and the fact that, if you're dealing with special needs or you're dealing with degenerative diseases or anything like that, there's a lot of mundane aspects to it. It's very frustrating. It's like you may remember what a person was like in the past, but the reality of it now is very frustrating. And his wife is very loyal to him, even when he's no longer really there. And so you can't really achieve catharsis with a movie like this because Capone has no relatable qualities. He's an empty shell. He can't control his bladder. He shits himself. All he does is sit out in his yard, either smoking a cigar or chomping on a carrot and stewing. And he doesn't know how to talk with people anymore. He has delusions where he's talking with dead gangsters and delusions from the past, and there's a complete wall because he's no longer there. It's just like what Robert Downey Jr. said in Tropic Thunder: "You never go full R word." Tom Hardy does that, and. It's a scene that illustrates this the most is when he's sitting outside, and he's listening to his radio, and on the radio there's a radio drama for the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, and they're talking about Al Capone, and they're out there in the real world. Al Capone is this villain that's larger than life. He's one of the he's like one of the first really big villains of the 20th century, and here he's at home and he's shitting himself, so it's a performance that keeps you at arm's length. If this was a more conventional movie, you might see a scene where he's listening to the radio and maybe it'll zoom in and then there'll be a tear that goes down his cheek, or maybe he'll have an outburst and cry out, something like that, something that, you could feel pity towards. But you can't feel pity, so it just keeps you at arm's length. And it's like you feel more pity towards, his wife. She's loyal to him, and she protects him, even all through everything they're through, and everything's being sold off, and they don't have much of an empire anymore. But she's still there. Maybe another filmmaker might have focused more on her. Josh Trank focuses on a first-person narrative with Al Capone. And as a result, he's very much, an unreliable narrator. We have a lot of surreal moments, a lot of delusions, a lot of other aspects that make it so things may not necessarily be what you see, what seems on camera. And so audiences haven't been receptive. I think it's a little bit unfair. I think, people, have just decided they don't like Josh Trank. I like him. I thought Chronicle was brilliant. I thought there was, shades of interesting ideas in Fantastic Four. And quite frankly, Capone is just like my friend said, it's insane. To see him, walking around his palatial estate with the gold-plated Tommy gun, walking around with the carrot hanging out of his mouth and, wearing diapers, it's just absolutely insane. It's more of, like an exploitation film, or, the kind of thing you'd see in a grindhouse theater than, like something that you'd see come out of Hollywood anymore. It's different. And I find that I like this movie a lot. It's not going to be for everybody's cup of tea, but like the performances are great. Tom Hardy really disappears into the role, and yeah, there's a lot to admire. I guess like the big thing that I didn't really care for too much is that there's a subplot involving some lost $10 million or whatever, and there's the feds are sort of listening in. That works because it feeds into his delusions, because he sees people, spying on him, and everybody else thinks he's crazy. But beyond adding just a little bit of dramatic tension is kind of unnecessary. But as it is, I think it's an interesting movie too, because this came out right in the middle of this COVID pandemic. This is like one of these big performances that didn't, disappear in theater. It disappeared on digital. It's not going to be for everyone, but I enjoy it. And I really hope this video is fucking short, because I just can't do another take. I wanted to thank everybody who has been stopping by. I would encourage you to like and subscribe if you haven't. I'm going to be doing, I really didn't want to do much more comic book stuff. Comic book stuff is, about 2 years ago, I started reading comic books again, because I had, at the time I was close to finishing my book, and I just wanted to explore new avenues to read comic books. I used to collect back when I was a teenager, so I thought I'd revisit all these old characters. But I don't have a lot of, I don't really feel like talking about it all the fucking time. It's a passion. It's like for me to talk about Spider-Man is, kind of a guilty pleasure. And, I didn't really want to get into that. But anyway, I do have for you in the next couple days, I got it today, that Spider-Man Booth Superior box. Probably spent too much money on it. We'll find that out. But anyway, thanks for stopping by. And I'll see you in a couple days for episode 13. Can you believe that shit? I started my first episode. I uploaded on April 25th. So thanks for stopping by, and I hope to see you soon.